Welcome to a very special full-time review. It is presented by Amazon Business. We have such a fantastic show for you today. There's so much to get into, so let's get into it. For the big stuff, I hand it over to our producer, Theo Lloyd Hughes, who caught up with athletic staff writers Laia and Art, who are in Lisbon for the final.
Hello, I am delighted here, producer Theo, to welcome in the athletics, Art de Roche and Laia Cervello, fresh from Lisbon. Laia, how are you doing? How's it going? You made it.
Trying to digest everything that happened only 24 hours ago. There's a lot of debate now in Barcelona about the game, about what happened, about what does that mean for Barcelona. So yeah, just trying to digest it and trying just to have some answers of the game we saw yesterday, because I think it's the worst game Barca has played probably in 2 years or 3 years. Yeah, I would say that's the worst one.
Well, I can't wait to get into that. We can all digest it together, Laia. Art, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure, with a bit of London bias, maybe you're going to give us a slightly different picture.
Yeah, I think it was really surreal. And I guess to Laia's point, I think Arsenal probably deserve a bit of credit for putting Barcelona in a position where they had their worst performance in 2 years, in her opinion.
It takes two to tango.
Yeah, from start to finish, really, Arsenal really showed that they were in Lisbon to lift that trophy, and it was just an amazing feeling that they actually got it done. I think going into the final, they were clear underdogs, and I think probably Arsenal fans would have felt a bit reluctant to say they would go on to win it, but thankfully they did.
Let's get into the game then. 1-0 it finished. Stina Blackstenius off the bench with what will go down as a very historic goal. Laia, Art, I don't know who wants to kind of jump in first here, but where do you think this game was won and lost? I mean, Laia, you say it's the worst performance you've seen for Barcelona in 2 years. Do you think Arsenal deserves some credit for what did they do that sort of created that Barcelona performance, or do you think really the blame is on Barcelona?
If we had seen the best Barcelona, probably they had won the game, because I do think they have been unrecognizable. I was mentioning that was the worst game in 2 years, probably because Arsenal just neutralized Barcelona midfield, which I think is the best probably in Europe. So they have to have credit for that, because tactically I do think that René won the game over Pere Romeu. So yeah, I think that they just didn't connect to the game. I would say the second half was slightly better for Barcelona, but still not good enough. Yeah, for me, Arsenal gets the credit, but in Barcelona, everybody, and me included, think that it was Barcelona that lost the game more than Arsenal win it, because I do think that if we had seen a performance like what they did against Chelsea in the semi-finals, probably they have won the title. But there is like the feeling that they went to Lisbon just to lift the trophy. We had starving team, which was Arsenal, against a team that had like the stomach filled with the last season. So
Art, how much was that hunger? I love this metaphor that Laia is bringing up, the starving and the full bellies. How much was that hunger the key to Arsenal's win, or what sort of tactical tweaks or personal performances did you see from René Slegers or the players that made it so difficult for Barcelona?
Yeah, it's a really good analogy, because I think when you look at this Arsenal squad, last year they failed to qualify for the Champions League group stages, and I remember speaking to Leah Williamson in a press conference at the start of the year when they were in qualifiers again for this season, and she said they were made to regret that the whole of last season. So they were in a position already in September where they were hungry to even get into the group stages, and I think you've seen the results of that hunger throughout the season. It's grown. Obviously, their first group stage game was a 5-2 loss to Bayern Munich, which was part of the downfall of Jonas Eidevall. But since René Slegers has come in, I think what she's done is she's brought a lot more fluidity to the way they attack. A lot of kind of pass and move, which Barcelona would be proud of in the league. I know that's not how Arsenal's game kind of panned out in Lisbon, because they had to really suffer at times. But what they have actually, I guess, developed in the years since, I think, when they played Barcelona in the group stages in 2021, is the key learnings were Barcelona smothered them in both games, I felt, and I think over the years they've developed that themselves, been able to become a lot more intense off the ball, a lot more organised, and that's, I think, a credit to Jonas Eidevall. You saw a player maybe like Chloe Kelly at the start of this year wasn't playing. Then she comes to Arsenal and she's been a really transformative player. And then also Mariona Caldente playing her former club. I think there's probably no better motivation for a player like that. So yeah, I think there were loads of different elements that kind of fed into Arsenal's hunger. And how that kind of manifested itself throughout the game.
Yeah, a tactical move that René Schleger's made before the Champions League final, moving Caldente into that more number 8 role, the box-to-box, but it worked really well on Saturday afternoon. Laia, you were there. I think during the game, anyone observing it felt like Arsenal did really well at the beginning. Barcelona got control, and then after the second half, right, that was probably Barcelona's best spells. I think they had 8 shots in the first 15 minutes of the second half. Claudia Pina hits the bar, and you're just thinking, okay, here's the Barcelona we were expecting. But when Blackstenia scores 7 minutes after coming on with her third touch, it did feel like there was something going on and that Barcelona weren't going to come back. And I think maybe the most disappointing part of the game was those final 15 minutes where Barcelona just didn't do enough. So, my question to you is, did you feel like in the stadium, the players, maybe those fans you were talking about that kind of showed up thinking they were going to win, do you think they lost belief after Blackstenia scored? Did you see something change in the stadium in those final 15 minutes?
Yeah, definitely. They had really lack of reaction. One of the latest plays where we were already on the extra time, the referee blew a whistle, something happened, and Esme Brooks just lied on the floor thinking that the game was over, and she was already crying, and the game wasn't over yet. So that was the feeling, and the fact how quickly Aitana started to cry after the game. I think that shows that they were feeling like they were going to lose just before the final. And I think that's because, when you arrive every season at the Champions League final, you will have to have ups and downs. And I think that they were remembering the last time they arrived to a final feeling as a clear winners before the final, and that was in 2022 against Olympique Lyon, and was Lyon who ended up winning the game. So I think all that memories were fresh to the players because it happened 3 years ago, and I think everybody was thinking on that game when that was happening. So I think that ghost over the team made the players have. I think they were mentally blocked, to be honest, because it's not normal not seeing any kind of individual talent popping up at some part of the game, and it's not normal for Barcelona that the best player of the team during the game was the goalkeeper. That's very, very strange for Barcelona. I mean, in my opinion, it was Catacoll the best player of the team. So I think they just at some point lost faith, or they were facing a scenario they are not that used to, even though they have more experience than they did in that kind of scenarios that they did in Turin in 2022. The ghost of past seasons just was flying over the team, and they were just thinking that cannot happen. We went to Lisbon to be champions again and to have everything, and then they didn't have anything at all.
Yeah, the devastated images and interviews with Aitana Bonmati after the game, I think she was saying she's never felt like that before in her career, and I think you could really feel that sense of shock as well as disappointment. On the emotions on the Arsenal side, right, the complete opposite. We're talking about euphoria, we're talking about legacy, we're talking about people writing their names into history in a very historic club, but a club that hadn't won the Champions League or a European Cup in 18 years. And now these players are seeing themselves as the Arsenal legends they kind of looked up to. So give me the beats of what it was like for Arsenal to be in those celebrations and be making history.
You're on the opposite side of the coin. It's the same coin, because there's ghosts, there's memories there that just come flooding through. And even for me, I was watching at home, and there's just moments that come into your brain that kind of freeze you. You don't really know what's happening. And I'm getting kind of goosebumps now thinking back to it. So I can only imagine what it was like for the players. Obviously, the main one that sticks out for everyone is Leah Williamson, a mascot in the 2007 home leg of the final. To come through the academy, I think she's been at Arsenal since 2006, so 19 years. To come through that journey, and then this season, she's spoken quite openly and well about how Renee Slagers has kind of made her tune into her emotions or channel them a bit better as a fan and player. So rather than having to be the hero and kind of die on her sword every game, being a bit more smart about how she uses herself during games. I think that discipline probably was seen throughout the game. There was that moment where she was 1-on-1 in the box. She didn't dive in. She was really smart and just stood her ground and then put her foot in, won the ball. Then you got a player like Kim Little, who joined.
Oh, I knew. I'm so glad you brought up Kim Little. What a legacy! What a legacy!
Honestly, joined. I believe just after that Champions League final in 2007. Has had a couple spells at the club. But I think when you look at not just her club career but international career as well, she's been very unfortunate not to have certain accolades. The discipline that she's shown in this Arsenal team for years, not just this season, has been exceptional. And I think the only thing that would have made it better would have been if she scored that chance that fell to her
over the bar
in the first half. Because honestly, it fell, and I saw the number 10, and I just assumed it was a goal. Amazing for loads of players in the team. We mentioned Chloe Kelly. But
Chloe Kelly, I mean, I think, was it Charlotte had the story going up today about Chloe Kelly saying she was going to probably take a break from football if Arsenal don't make that call in January. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that, right? 1 second you're not playing the game, the next second you're winning a Champions League final. I mean, sliding doors.
Exactly. And I think, to be fair to her, she's been instrumental in Arsenal actually getting to the final. I mean, all Arsenal's hopes were on her and Daphne van Domselaar in the semi-finals. So were they going to be fit, yes or no? That's another sliding doors moment, because she was the one who took the game to Lyon out in France. I think there's so many players that deserve credit that I feel bad just going name by name and maybe forgetting a few. But I think that all showed in the emotions that obviously spilled over once the full-time whistle went.
Great piece up on The Athletic, talking to Daphne van Domselaar, the Arsenal goalkeeper, about her love of crosswords. I too am a big crossword fan. So Daphne, if we ever get a cup of coffee, I'd love to do a crossword with you. Laia.
On that, sorry. Quickly,
you go.
So she's all about paper and pencil. So she doesn't
Analog.
She doesn't do the phone crosswords.
Good for her. We're all trying to get off our phone less. Laia, as we start to wrap up, the legacy, the emotions of Saturday, the Champions League final, I want to talk to you about what this means for Barcelona sort of moving forward, right? They were regarded and expected to win a third Champions League in a row. They've made 5 finals in a row. Is this the end of an era for Barcelona and them being at the top of the European table? Or next year, should we expect them to be in the final? Should we expect them to win? And if they are going to change, what changes might they make?
I would not say that this is the end of an era for them, because you can lose finals, and that's normal in football. And what's not normal is a team being in 5 finals in a row and having the Champions League as a yardstick for the season. For them, their league is the Champions League. That speaks really well about this team, and I don't want just to reduce it to the they lost, so it's like the end of an era. I do think that the fact that the English league is better every year can be something that I don't know, maybe in 5 years will have some impact in Barcelona, because maybe some players will like to go there to play and to be competitive every week, and not be in the Spanish league, just knowing that they are going to win. And they don't know if they're going to win by 5-0 or 9-0 a game. So I get that point, and I think that's something that can have some consequences in the future. But I don't think that's because the project is not solid enough. And every time they have lost a final, something that has happened with the first final of the last 3 coaches they have had, with Luis Cortés, with Jonathan Giraldez, the next season they have won the Champions League. So I
That's
think
a good point. Yeah,
I think that they need that kind of motivations to challenge themselves.
Final thoughts here then before I let you two get out of here and we can all finish digesting this instant classic, stunning Champions League final. How will you remember this final, Art? What were your final thoughts, or how do you think this kind of special underdog game will be remembered?
I think the feeling that, and I felt this during the first half, if I'm being totally honest, the feeling was pride, I think, in the performance that Arsenal were putting out there, because as we've kind of talked about, they were massive underdogs. Myself, I was playing it down so much in the days and weeks ahead of the final, because you don't want to think that far ahead of if it can happen. So yeah, I think the way they acquitted themselves was exemplary, really, and it just showed that, I mean, if you're in that final, you deserve to be there, and I think the way they played, even when things looked a bit scary, when those 8 shots were cannoning at Van Domselaar in the second half, they stood up to be counted, and I think they should be really proud of that. I think Leah Williamson used that word as well in the mix zone. She said the Euros win with England was more relief, but this was more pride. So yeah, I think that's the overriding feeling. And on the flip side of what Laia was talking about with Barcelona, I think if you're looking at it from an Arsenal perspective, they need to really use this as a platform to become like Barcelona in England, or be more serious rivals to Chelsea domestically. Have that kind of confidence to say, you are Arsenal, you are still the most decorated club, or women's club, in England, and really try and kind of make a mark in these next coming seasons.
Laia, I'll give you the final word. How will you remember this Champions League final? What are your best memories from Lisbon? You survived a wild weekend.
I would like to remember it like one final more than Barca fans just traveled all over the world to see Barcelona. They just, like, you could see from the television and from the stadium that most of the fans were Barcelona fans, so that's something that Barcelona has to be proud of. And the way the players received the final whistle, even though they were devastated, they just kept being there for the fans, just looking at them and applauding them. They were there for half an hour after receiving the medal. So that's true class to me, and that's what I want to remember about Barcelona, just being there, and the message that Aitana and Alexia said after the match. Both of them just spoke for the TV with the eyes full of tears. So they just were brave to face what they did, and that made me think that there is going to be a reaction, that they are not going to just give up and say, okay, that's over, our golden years have finished now. So I do think I can see them being in the next Champions League final. So I would say that just how the fans are involved with this team, how they believe in them, how they were just waving their flags when they knew that they were going to lose the game, because it was like the minute 95 or something like that, and they were just, okay, we got you. I could count 5 Barcelona fans for every one Arsenal fan, and that is something that Barcelona has to be proud of, because that's what makes them special.
Well, I'm sure it'll be the beginning of an even greater era of European football for Arsenal. And the Arsenal fans who were in Lisbon, I'm sure, stayed up very, very late into the early morning of Sunday, and maybe even are still partying as they listen to this, the full-time reviews. Laia, Art, thanks so much for being here. Do go check out all their writing. Fantastic work by both of you throughout the Champions League final. Laia, Art, thank you so much for being here.
Before we get out of here, did you know that The Athletic has partnered with Yahoo Sports to provide free best-in-class coverage of women's sports? Sure did. Check out the Women's Sports Hub at sports.yahoo.com/women-sports. That does it for our show today. Thank you so much for listening as always. My name is Jillian Sakovitz, and we'll see you soon.